So this unit under your institute, right? Yes.
This is under the institute. So now there might be a bit of a quick hearing or something. If that is moved. Very quickly, I'll go through this piece of equipment and so what we do is we do various things. We build things like lab and equipment support. So we have people of the research, we have a library for letting we go out to the video which we use. We then the equipment to research tools. We have a lab for doing multimodal research, which means multimodal meaning we do all kinds of research around. We can do transmission of audio, so we can do all kinds of technical stuff around audio research. And we also have a supercomputing environment that is part of the finish, so we have access. So again, these are the kind of infrastructure issues that Finland is relatively good in, and this has been also done at the university level. But if you are a researcher working in university, you can get access to an actual centralized computing environment, which is kind of free for all research to use. So that can happen in various ways, but there are various options, either using centralized environment or some of the approaches require bigger computers from them, so we can have to do. So we have been actively building on coming up with this station. I hope the sound doesn't fluctuate too much. You can hear me. And so what we also do is we have what is called methodological training. And so what this means that we host weekly seminars where we get people who we think are working kind of cutting edge of datafication and methods. Kind of like this event here, open discussion, where we try to think about a better ways of approaching to create a culture of discussion, to create a culture of innovation about some of the things that we're working with. And then also try to promote networks and interdisciplinary discussion. And then we also hold workshops, and I think workshops and nothing like so. This would be an example of kind of the workshop that we are organizing. And that's where, like in Europe, I was one of the next time we can start thinking about something, organizing something. That is not part of the presentation at the moment. But we all organize targeted intensive courses for, in our case, because we basically is relatively small, so we decided to only work at the PhD and postdoc level. Because of that, once you go down, they have the part of the course already. We also collect courses and support courses, and then support work. So if research group want to talk about something very specific, we say, okay, let's find somebody who can help you with this. So that this just shows the kind of activity that we have been working. But I think one of the things that is perhaps outside the work that we done in Finland, which might also interest colleagues in school, we have also started building transnational networks or transnational networks of academics and researchers working on various topics. So if somebody is interested in working on climate change debates, we have set up a network where we collected all the conversations related to the COP26 and COP27 climate change summits. And the text is very small there, but the data set is about 20 million tweets. So the big setup, so we collected for the period of 2 weeks preceding and after the summits, everything that we collected, everything that was available from here. And we thought this would be an exceptional way to study the impact of datafication on social media, but also think about how can we work in a collective way in different global settings. So we have set up a collaborative network of researchers, I think across 11 countries right now, where we provide the infrastructure, the data to do this kind of research. But they can join with their own research questions from other parts of the world. So we have South Africa involved, there's Canada, there's Australia, Japan, and a couple of European countries. So each of them have promised to work with the same data set, and then based on the infrastructure that we have been building them for the kind of facilities, and the idea is that in order to understand the problem better, it's a bit like a blind man and the elephant. Everybody needs different perspective, and by combining these perspectives and providing tools and data, we get a better picture of what has been going on in the environmental politics. So that's a very concrete example, and one very simple. This is an open invitation to all researchers globally. So what we do is that if you are interested, you can apply for being part of this network. You can get access to the data in a way that, but we have to be very careful because EU regulation and law is very strict. So we have to provide in a way that the data can never leave Finland. So how do you work around this problem that you can share it, but you can't allow people to download it? So we have been forced to work around this to have infrastructure for people doing this outside the EU as well. It's very complicated and tricky ways, but it's possible. So what we have been doing, and this is an example of what I mean, just I wanted to provide a very concrete example of infrastructure is also important for kind of collaboration and networking. So again, within the European. So we set up this network on our supercomputer environment, where we have people can get access to it online service, and online tool you can use. So if you sign the kind of agreement, you can get access to very high power computing and the data sets have already been studied right now. So we also do this kind of visualization tools that you can also visualize the data in the interface. So if you are in Indonesia or if you're in Australia and you have access to that, you can use Tableau is one of the kind of data science that commonly use visualization. So we can do analysis even if you don't have access to the original tools, and then we can do customized solutions and things like that. So this allows a network of 25 researchers around the world to use the basic. So once we think about global collaboration, it's also different ways that collaboration can happen, but it can also happen by creating this kind of research groups that work on similar topics and invite researchers from different parts of the world. Or for instance, Indonesia would actually join it. But we have the facilities to provide an infrastructure to that. So it doesn't have to be so. You can use the service provided for basically only with internet connection. It's not possible. I thought that would be something interesting. This idea of infrastructure development, especially for collaborative research, becomes quite important. And so what is being practiced? So we have this. Unfortunately, most of the time we will still need only Python or some kind of analysis to do that. We have provided also ready scripts for how to do it. But then we also have the dashboard where you can visualize everything even without having technical knowledge. So if you're interested, for instance, Indonesian discussions in climate change debate, so we can set you up as a team member, and then with our help, we help you. It's not private. We're going to have work in Berlin, and then this will be a whole published on that collaboration for researchers in part of the world. Again, that's the kind of collaboration that's what happens in the Nordics and Finland are quite limited, so we're trying to expand the scope of the work we're doing to various types of collaboration, and I thought that would be interesting to mention. I'm not sure how I'm doing with time, but so again, these are just, don't mind me, but these are the kind of stuff that we have been playing around with. And again, these are just different ways of trying to rethink or configure or think about how can we use different data sets in creative ways. So these are some of the types of stuff that we have been building in the last 6 months or so. Trying to do like visual analysis. So we have been building different ways of looking at visuals across different. So for instance, there's a political event happening, what types of information images are being shared, what types of images are being shared, and different ways of approaching this. We have been trying to work around with like some large language models, and we get like coordinated actions to do things like data similarity and various other mechanisms. We are quite technical, but what has been happening the last couple of years, these have become feasible in the level of training. You can quite easily do things like this. And then we have been social networks and some visualizations that we have been building on this. And I think the most coolest thing, which a colleague of mine that I'm working with is a PhD student, or we are working together. So because there are many elections taking place in addition to the Indonesian election, the EU election will also take place. So we have been working with a research group on trying to come up with ways of understanding TikTok in a very systematic way. You cannot access data easily from TikTok. So what we have done, and this is something we're going to try to apply for further funding, we have set up a system of burner phones, if you know what burner phones are. So they are phones that you get SIM cards that are anonymous. So we get like people 10 different mobile phones which are anonymous, and we set them up to our operating system. These are kind of big technical stuff. They're all connected to a database, so you can start creating profiles of people that existing, go scrolling political information. And so we have research assistants who scroll twice a day, and the data becomes automatically collected into the database. And so this way we can see also how the recommender systems of TikTok, for instance, are operating. Because they have different, so if you are, depending on how you scroll, it changes what you get. So we're looking at, so we come up with different political profiles, and we have like, we try to see what type of information they receive over a period of a month. So they keep on scrolling twice a day systematically, and after a month we have a big data set, all the videos and all the information has been collected. And it's a kind of, because you have to do it in a creative way, making sure that you get both recommendations, also circulating the fact that it's very hard to get data from TikTok or doing research. So that's the kind of idea of it. A couple of very funny PhD student or student of mine who's about finished. It's very clever, so you got something this station. Okay, go ahead, do it. And so pilot can be done soon, and we'll see. So that's something again very interesting, because then you have a very new research way of understanding what happens, for instance, on TikTok and some other platforms. So again, something connected. There's not too many more slides. I'm showing a few things still. Then we can, there's a few ideas if you can get disconnected back on. Or I can just, speaking to you.
Okay.
Do we know where the connection is? Okay. But while we're setting the technical stuff, so I hope this kind of overview of some of the things that we have been doing very useful to give an idea of where then we can find some ways of discussing what might be useful. I think it's been my year. So while we're doing the technical parts, are there people have any questions for that? Want to have any questions or if you need any clarifications?
We has many platform knowledge or student based education, issue of education and issue education, education. Okay. Okay, mau balik dia. Is any pengalaman? I think the one is that you need to supercomputer. Supercomputer is.
You don't need a big computer. It can be a small one. Again, for certain.
Okay,
You can also use these files of.
It is a wonderful question, and I will tackle the hard question first. Usually, I have to go the other way around. So, let me preface that by saying that I'm actually an anthropologist by training. So I fully understand the importance of qualitative enrichment in data, which can never be turned into numerical numbers. There are certain things that you can do better than before, but the core of like qualitative research you still cannot into numbers. So idea probably wasn't clear enough. I believe that we're not trying to reduce or remove the more qualitative work that is being done. So this is something that can complement on top of that. And we also actually do qualitative research within that itself. So, however, there is one thing that might be compromised. Argument here, but it's so the meeting ground between that different approaches. That there are different ways that you can also use this kind of infrastructure development of also making sure that the qualitative data either becomes stored or becomes accessible or becomes shared in ways that other research then can use it later without getting rid of the richness. And there are ways that you can provide slightly more structured insights into, let's say, each of these, for instance, by using like coding schemes that there are tools that make it easier. So we do that kind of support as well. So for instance, Atlas would be one classical example. It's very widely used. That if you have a big interview data, it allows you to now use labeling schemas based on the kind of content that has been doing. So I fully agree with that, and I think that is a big question. And I will be very clear here, kind of, which I was in the presentation. I fully agree that if you do this kind of work, you have to go even anthropology by training with the richness of the data first, and then going into what can be done, which is often the opposite of computer scientists. They love numbers, but they don't really have that much interest in what happens in the kind of domain or in the. So I fully agree. And one thing that is very interesting, and again, I will talk about that a bit later. I have a few slides on that, is that some of the tools like ChatGPT are actually quite good in interpreting very specific in the English context I have read here. They're quite good in interpreting qualitative context as well. So people have been doing research and using ChatGPT to label political communication messages, especially in the US context, and some random trials they did was able to label the more accurate that emails were. So that line is becoming a bit blurry. That you can also, if you think creatively, and I think this is going to take a lot of sure, you can also conceptualize doing some type of qualitative research with the help of new AI models, because they can get quite a lot of context because so much data has been consumed and that's very standard there. So the field is changing, but I think the richness of social social life, cultural life, political life, you're kind of driving for the startup. So then, as I mentioned, the LGBT, I'll try to answer an easier question. That we have set up a lot of discussion on guidelines, and there's sort of guidelines now in place of how you should be able to use them. And the consensus has been, I raised a hard question about this in paper, is that you cannot use it as a form of plagiarism. So if you produce your essays using entirely ChatGPT, somebody else's work, you can use that as a tool for doing research and writing, but you have to indicate specifically where you use it. Question citation, where do you use it, what types of prompts are you using? Students are allowed to do that. I had a few essays that I've been marking, so one of them actually did that. I'm not sure how many of them have, but you can use detection software to kind of find out what problems. But on the other hand, you can think about how you create as a form of literacy. But I'm thinking that if you really want to go into like it's not a really a question of learning, but a question of assessment. You can, some places have become very creative that they have gone back to like oral assessments or various ways that we get away from the historically standardized writing example, which might not be pedagogically the best way to assess anyway. Mostly they do it because it's the cost effective way to do it. So again, it's a multiple different things. So the kind of general principle has been that yes, we have to create strict guidelines, again, with using AI, but at the same time, you have to give people the ability to learn how to use them as part of it. I can share the guidelines and see how they work. It's like a 10-page document that they word all the comments. And that has like a big of I remember I gave comments on it. I don't remember the exact. I hope that kind of one reassures you in terms of qualitative research, and also then the guidelines might be useful. But it's also very contextual because I think a very way of kind of assessing and that one. There is outside the class now. So the approach I've taken is that I do have a session on like a critical and literate way of using that GPT. So I actually have been training them on what might be a better way of using it. Because there's no way to get a scale issue that there are so many students that it's very difficult to monitor what everybody's doing. So a better approach that I have been taking is that we actually try to give them kind of an example of how it should be done. So if they choose to do it, then they will guide them slightly to a better direction. I mean, that's one thing that I've been doing workshops on using generative AI around what could be done and sort of things. So again, why not being restrictive? It's more like giving an inspiration or this is where it's good use, this is where it's bad use. Well, if you take a console, then of course if you do the entire. So if you violate the guidelines, then that's punishment. Of course, that's fine. Catching them might be difficult. So that's there are software that have been developed in that. I think that's the kind of way. And again, I think the problem when I did my master's, and that shows how old I am, I have to write by hand. So when I did my master's, I did my assignments by hand. So there's no way you can actually. I'm not sure how the handwriting was a problem at that point. If anybody understood what sort of said, but there was no computer exams. So again, but it was a lot of work correcting them because then somebody has to read. tens and tens of hundreds of pages. But that's what the way assessed, like that was only about early 2000s. Yeah, so that's 23 years ago I did my master's. Too long ago. So how I become an old man.
Any comment? We have from Mas Derajat. Any comment? Based on made presentation, actually we presented it. Month later, was to compile data for what to how to grow what see, and there is three layer. But I don't exactly when we talk about the time graphics, I don't exactly it's related also because graphic the level of the analysis to be in the Python, right? So I look at it. So related and technical graphic. Like what Lydia said, and exactly how it's still needed and used.
Yeah, so in my own work and current projects, I will say that you can do both. And again, we are not seeing it as an exclusive binary. So what I do is I do both the macro level analysis, but then I also do very down to earth detail analysis. And so I call it like scaling up research rather than doing quantitative research. So you scale up qualitative research by limiting create different levels of insights which then relate in the practice. And so one of the projects I'm starting very data set. So then I'm using that to identify people that I need to interview and do like deep interviews. So I'm using data to find the people, but then I go back and then one of my PhD students who's doing a really cool project at the moment is Shanka. So what he's doing is he's done this kind of network mapping of influence days around that. But then he's taking this visualization and map and find the people in them and going asking them to interview them. People does it make sense what he's analyzing. So he does the qualitative analysis and the kind of visualization analysis. And then he creates his results are based both on what he finds and what the people working, people involved in this kind of how they interpret and what personally they create about that. So again, it's not like it's not either or in that sense.
So it's nice.
We can
even in like
exactly. So let's say when Indonesian elections, there's some kind of influencer community, some buzzers are doing something. You can go to I heard the buzzers very popular term. You can go interview them, you can find what they're doing both on final level. Insight. They can also look at how they are positioned in broader conversations and both the different perspectives. In the way I see that there's no point in prioritizing the other perspective.
the problem is buzzer because they don't say there is dispute about regarding the truth. Buzzer and influencer.
Like that. That's right.
Some parts of the world they're called disinformation. That's the term that they use. So yes, I think that kind of instead of seeing it as threatening or somehow exclusive, it allows you to both. Sometimes it makes sense, sometimes the interview is much better than you don't have to always. But because this is, I think, more like a new layer addition that can be done. And then, obviously, how do you interpret them? That's I know many people who fit the description that I think both of you have been having. They usually come from like computer science or more hardcore computation stuff who don't like quality stuff at all. And we always try to tell them that it's like, no. They want to do all they want to do is like test now. So very quickly, I'll conclude just you pointed and go into your remarks. So yeah, I'm currently some of the things I was saying. I'm currently working on 3 different projects, which are linked to the base that I mentioned. We got major funding to look at how authoritarian states suppress information various dimensions and also online. So we're looking at Russia, China, Ethiopia, and Rwanda case studies. So it's a form of digital politics of suppressing information through by both through by heavy means, but also by kind of more softer means. And so we have this started 1st of January, so that's something that's going to be quite big as a project. And we got funding, or I got funding for a project on training policymakers and judges, the use of generative AI and the challenges involved, especially in like what they call information disorder. But the other ones who we want to make the legal decisions, so we want to inform them about what are good decisions to take about AI in various domains. We're working together with the University of Oxford on this one. Then we've been looking at like social media platforms from the project that we're involved. So how do they try to keep their role of accountability of moderating and getting rid of information that is considered harmful to our society? So this is the very practical stuff that I'm currently applying some of the. But so what I wanted to just very briefly conclude, and I think it's a good transition to what you might be saying. I just have to let my slow computer catch up without the internet. Is that if you, in a way, what I wanted to just kind of end up the conversation with that. Yes, Finland has been doing these things, and we're lucky to get private funding for this. So we have been doing this stuff, and we have some of the research being developed. I think in a more comparative global context, somebody who's done a lot of my work in outside Finland, there's a couple of things that we might want to consider. One is that there is not, from my perspective, not enough contextual understanding of what these debates mean outside the dominant EU and US context where most of the research takes place. So many parts of the world, including Indonesia, are underrepresented in the research of what does it mean when we look at these things and trends that we have been discussing. And as a consequence, some of the methods and infrastructure we have been building might not be appropriate to other parts of the world. As such, as we need to think about ways of how can we then collaborate with other parts of the world as making these kind of research approaches to infrastructure, both the more accessible, more feasible, and very customized to the contextual interest of the here. I think these are the two kind of challenges that we are facing, both on the theoretical side, and I've been working a fair bit on like not trying to diversify the theoretical perspectives. And the method stuff is something we can also discuss, which might be about and reflect on. So again, I wanted to end up with the ChatGPT discussion, and as I mentioned, it has become a very popular debate on social science and humanities, especially in the Nordic context. Which shows some at the conference in Copenhagen in the beginning of December. So also the generative method and collaborating from science and humanities, which is big, rapidly growing into a very dynamic development of different methods. And again, in the global context, my favorite map is this one. And if you look at the types of data that have been used to train different AI models, you can start seeing that it's a very limited picture of the world. So once we start thinking about ChatGPT, for instance, you can see that it's like America has become very overweight, and that it's very big, and like it's about to explode from all the data it has. For instance, Indonesia very small. There's some stuff there, but very small. Africa, very small, South America. So we always have to think about this integration when we look at, especially the very popular AI models, and they don't necessarily reflect the diversity of the world or the diversity of countries in Asia. I think that's one critical question we must raise when we talk about some of the things that we have been discussing in the room. How can we then work around integration? And I find this a bit very striking because it shows how biased knowledge that has been put into these models, in fact, it's from Mozilla Foundation. So they have done some research on this. So in a way, in summary, just kind of summarizing, I think in a way, datafication, arrival of generative AI and from large language models, and the kind of collaborative research infrastructure that can be done, and we can provide the opportunities for social science humanities to understand global social phenomena, political phenomena, scale and depth before. And it can be acquired, if done well, not sacrificing the political richness that has been here. But at the same time, despite that, these have been developed. Because in Finland, which is a very limited small part of the world, I think the population of Finland is more than population of Australia. So we don't necessarily represent the world or and have knowledge of Finland is very limited. But we want to diversify ideas, but my kind of missions or my interest diversify relation to bring in actually the complexity and the diversity of these happening around the world. And again, in a sense, reflecting how can we think about this, and especially AI. No, I'm talking about computer science, Bahasa is relatively well covered by relatively a lot of work on it. But again, there are many other small languages that what takes to manage this into a kind of cultural diverse way, they might not be feasible for the moment. So again, going to your kind of again, you don't have to raise this, but what types of approach and research are needed, and also how could research best facilitate this kind of development and research, global context, and we do knowledge and stuff. Some funding in the north, but it is still very limited. And all images have been produced by AI. Has made my slide introduction. We can do this particular image. And you give you a picture of the visual design. And then we'll make this work. So I conclude there. I don't know if I took about 40 minutes. I think we are somewhere around that time. I hope that gave us a driver so we can have a discussion. Oh, my jet lag and we didn't make point. Thanks for listening.
Okay, thank you very much, Ms. Betty. So that for students that information and of course to understanding knowledge that is you already know or not, but I think this is the perspective from issue on digital ID. How to understand using what called the thank you. I know that the time is for Dr. Agus to comment, respond. I think
No, enough.
And then we will open the discussion. Maybe one of you will ask to document it. This Ms. Agus and Ms. Ross.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Mehdi, great you explain to us about this thema, this topic, and according to what this campus or the Indonesia, so digital society is needs. But maybe before it, I ask to you about how the society in Europe when what apply the election like on Indonesia now, because about digital society that's so the elite of politics not not haven't trust about it. So maybe around 10 or 5-10 a year, really the regulation which will being the election will being by a voting. But until now, because the elite politic then don't believe about it, so it's still trouble until now. Although if our country, Indonesia, make the election with the digital or e-voting, so maybe not maybe it's real cheaper than watch manual. So maybe you can explain how about the society of Europe believe or not about e-voting like in Indonesia. And maybe like Mr. Budakir said just now that how about the buzzer? How about the media society? I mean that the media, society and media when there is election there. Maybe you can explain to us about it. Besides that, really, on my department on sociology, plus time we will make what's postgraduate, namely the what's sociology, sociology digital sociology. Although I don't know that our leader or our rector will come or not, I don't know. But from us, will make a department of postgraduate S2, the name of digital sociology. So according to explain just now, it's good according to me. But maybe you can give the critic or another until maybe one day we build this program. And third, about really we are is our editor of the journal, the Journal of Society and Media. We made the journal signed on what 9 10 90 no to 2000 I mean that 7 years ago until now. And really the writer, the editor, and the reviewer from another country, it's okay. But until now, still develop, and we will make how this journal being better. So maybe Mr. Matty can give something to us in order our journal, the Journal of Society Media, and being better. Thank you. Okay.
In the closing remark, I think there are three different questions. First one is a very easy question to respond. I'm happy to look at it and give some comments on it.
Okay.
And advice, so we can. It's not something we can probably do today, but following this discussion.
Okay.
So that is, and I'm very interested to see how you explain it. The first question was probably the hardest, so I'll jump into that next. How do we understand both trust within the European countries, but also how European countries understand trust happening in the Indonesian election? Correct.
Yeah.
Question. So I think the problems that happen in Indonesia are very similar to the problems that are happening in Europe as well. I would say that there is a big problem of trust in the elections.
Yeah.
And we do have similar phenomena that we see also happening in Indonesia around the We have also a very big problem in Finland and other countries with our eastern neighbor.
Okay.
I will not mention the country, but maybe there's a lot of geopolitical interest of Russia. Geopolitical interest of Russia to also use various techniques like politics to happen. In various European countries, like Hungary has been recorded use of AI in the elections and all kinds of things. So the problem there is as well, and I think one thing that is maybe the Nordics have been able to do reasonably well is that they have been able to get students quite media literate, and the student and kind of get a trust in the programs that start already from school. So I think the question of building trust around elections has to start from very early on. That have a trust in the processes of society and also the information that is shared about elections. And the only way to do that is to get people critical thinking, critical understanding of how things are taking place. I think that's where something that is the Nordic countries are in. My daughter, who's 7 years old, probably is the best media critic that I know of to be able to navigate all these things. So that there is that. But so I think that kind of yeah, I think that would be, it's a very difficult question to go like, okay, how would take place in practice. The second question was on sociology.
Yeah.
And yes,
postgraduate.
Postgraduate. So I'm very also happy, and I think we discussed it with Mohammed,
Okay.
already very brief, that I'm very happy to. It is, many of the things that I presented are the outcome of a lot of work that has been done. And, but we have learned that many of the steps that are required for that kind of work to be done. So for instance, what is required for the challenges of this kind of work. So I'm very happy to share some of my insights. It's not really the curricular languages. What could be potentially done, and also what might not be in practice form. So what other methods that are we have been doing this thing already. There are examples that can be and share them. I'll be very happy to see how it goes. I think that kind of answer. The question of over trust, I think that. Yeah, that's.
Okay, thank you. Any comment from student? Please. Any PCG regarding
Juni maybe?
certification, how to doing research, especially in the disciplinary like what maybe explain was.
Juni will.
And I turn it back, and I'm interested in how many of you would be interested in using some type of digital methods. In terms of also hands up. Are you interested in doing this type of research? If it was possible.
Are you interested? Juni just English. Oh, good. Please, Juni.
Some that is on how people see different via they represent their position in the ranking. For example, higher education and even engineering. So that is using how put data on the official website of the university, on Instagram and on the Facebook. So comparing how the universities or get the what called the international reference by using paling data from the from that belong to what I would say
Branding.
yeah.
I like branding.
I think many things are branding nowadays. So
Yeah.
it's actually short. If it, yeah, every university has their big kind of branding.
But using on the
But that's exactly the kind of research that is now possible because that information is publicly available. So all the kind of social media platforms, you can go collect the data.
Yeah,
Exactly.
because the university, I decided a lot to join the ranking. I decided some countries because
Very high ratings.
So it could be part of the what called the
So if there's sufficient amount of data, you can then visualize it. You can extract various.
Usually not yet, yeah. So I would say maybe need some tool to visualize.
There are tools, and you can do different types of analysis on. You can look at relationships, various things. So there's all kind of.
I would say what kind of tool that we can use.
Well, yeah.
Okay.
it's a long list, so I think he's an expert on it. If you go into like national language processing, he tried all of them. NLP, so it's like how to understand text.
So maybe in the other opportunity, we will invite Mr. Okay to give the share what kind of tool that we can use to spread what kind of visualization of data. Okay.
Because there are like dozens of different things. There's no single answer. I agree. I mean, that you can do it by learning how to code, or then you can use ready-made, or you can use this. Oh, probably hundreds of different ways of doing it.
Problem. Collecting data. For example,
So maybe can you
data from
this the slide?
Who really does the
and it's not double.
Okay.
You can collect all of it. Okay. Only.
Now, the big issue there is that before Twitter had access to researchers, now it doesn't have any portal. You have to come up with creative ways of doing it. You can use kind of manual ways of doing also. And
Manual.
so if you can collect, you can copy paste, and you don't always have to do it automatically. Because the platforms are very restricted in what you can get. They're going to be opening up. There are various tools to do it. You can also do it even if they don't want you to do it. But then it's always a bit of a technical question.
But in Indonesia, there is no.
Then you are in a better position than
Yeah.
Europe is very strict. Europe is very strict in that. So again, one example I mentioned was the burner phones, or the kind of anonymous phones that I have a PhD student that's the data collection. Because you can do it that way, so it's basically traffic stream and puts the database and making it format. So, I mean, you have to be creative about that. You can also do like copy and paste, and then matter of understanding what can be done.
For website, it's easy, but for the line.
That is challenging. You do have some repositories that you have taken for come and go on. So yeah, that is unfortunately Elon Musk makes it a lot more difficult. That was
Cambridge Analytica.
so before Twitter used to have access for academics for downloading information, but Musk came to power, you have to pay lots of money. Yeah, you can get it, but you have to pay lots of money. So you can also work with existing datasets. So even if there are repositories, I'm sure there are also Indonesian datasets that already exist. You can start if you don't have to do your own dataset, you can work with try things out and see what's there. Various things there. But I think it's a way of thinking creatively. The tools are just learning things about the questions that you want to raise and new insights you might get from it.
Okay, thank you. Perhaps anybody want to comment or give the such perspective to this discussion? Ya, silakan.
Naimatul?
Hai, Pak.
Desi. Oh, Desi. Oh. Judy? Okay, Judy, please. Judy, we'll give.
Okay, please.
Introduce before.
for them to help understand and make it easy for the research about medicine or something like that, and it's very helpful. And I for when I see the phenomena, I see it's can help students technology like AI is can make it easy for students. So I think sometimes in my opinion, it really can help us, but I don't know how to create the batasan.
Limitation.
Needed to use because it's very easy, but not really confident for. So this is just I want to share about my.
I think your English is very good, so no need to apologize. So I think the challenge with a lot of these tools that they are very helpful, but it's very hard also to assess if the information they give you is accurate.
Yes.
Because one big problem in like ChatGPT, and most likely this doctor goes to GPT, mostly likely it uses ChatGPT,
Yes.
but it's just an interface. So it's been known to what is called hallucinations. It's the term that they use. So it creates knowledge that doesn't really reflect reality.
Yes.
So the challenge there I have, while I'm fully anything that helps research, I'm very on supportive of that. But you still there is a requirement to learn critical thinking, of being able to assess when that information is correct or not. And I think that is going to be the big question is coming up in the especially the young population. Because if you trust everything that you get to the AI, you might get some there's been studies made, but you might get like half wrong or three quarters wrong. So then you only learn information that somebody else produced that might be wrong. So I think that's where the critical thinking will not be replaced by AI. It can be helped by it. But I think so. While these are very useful, I would be slightly cautious that it's always good to check the information with something else. Because the way these systems work is that they download everything online, and then they create some type of new knowledge based on that. And sometimes the knowledge is correct, sometimes it can be completely. And that's been, I mean, they're getting better, but that's been a big problem also. You can write my name onto it and create a character called multiple that's presenting me at all. But then have information on me, so I'm somebody that is a completely different person, but just supposed to tell you about the life story of this person that doesn't exist. I mean, they have the capability of hallucinating. So that's the only kind of point that here. So it makes sense.
Okay, before we are closing this document. From our college.
Mr. Muzakir, this is our journal. You can introduce.
Okay, the estimate it is actually is how to know and focus on creation media, how to say in media actually focus on the cost of the society part of the use of the okay, thank you. So actually we welcome you from one of the our
Editor.
also know about the contemporary
Editor, directly editor.
contemporary issue regarding on because the many people from the Africa, yeah, there is a lot of America. Tadi is
Buka yang pertama tadi, halaman pertama. Ah, eh, bawah. Dan terus. The current day use. The current day article.
Nigeria.
Nigeria.
I'll have to definitely have a look at this article.
Okay. Continue.
It's a peer review journal. So,
yeah, very good about yeah, actually this
looks interesting. A lot of research coming out of Nigeria.
okay.
Yeah, no, I'm very happy to have a look at it. On the website.
Terus bawah.
And how often do you publish? How often do you have issues?
Actually,
Twice.
Twice a year.
Nigeria.
Nigeria.
Yeah.
it's often the other
This all issue like this. Okay, please use click one. Okay. This. Okay.
Itu not bersama.
Yeah, no, this is there's a whole field of research around social media and terrorism.
Yeah.
Very good. Yeah. Very active for 2010, so 15 years. Yeah, it looks good to me. What is nice about this article, just very quickly judging from the articles, that it's very much focused on Indonesia and the region, and Nigeria wasn't there. So it seems that the people who are submitting to it are also people who are doing research on the local.
Yeah.
Context. It's interesting because in the European journals you don't really find that many articles. So it's something probably like that. National Journal of Communication, you don't find that much there.
Because yeah, there is the what we call the standard fixed to the master for the from properties.
How much is that?
And it depends on the what depend on the buildings. But usually, today for properties. What's the option?
Okay, that's it.
And it's good. It's the state put up by the companies that public
In Finland, PhD is 4 publications. So yeah, that works for a publication PhD. That's like 4 publications. Only have now become social science stuff for publication. It's not like the monograph that used to be before.
I wrote like, sorry, I wrote about 350 pages, so I would prefer to do more publications. That was great.
Okay, thank you very much. There is no other comment question, so I think because the time is okay. I would not give the conclusion because everyone can what you already discussed, but the most important thing we can learn from our discussion this morning that the issue of digital society, one way is how we develop the theory to understand what we call, like what Mr. Mani said, identification. Even the identification is ongoing process, that theoretically or even the methodologically, I think is really we can learn how to use the theory from identification and methodology. And we could contextualize in Indonesia society what already done in Europe, like what Mr. Betty did with the what called the research center in Helsinki. One equally important is the infrastructure. Mas Adit, infrastructure is most important thing, you know.
Most important.
We must use what called the supercomputer. What kind of supercomputer is? I think we need to we need what calls I think to enhance our equipment and the tool in context how to generate the data. Yeah, I think it's to be suited. I think from the discussion also I think we can propose to our boss of our institutions. Yeah, of course. Even geography, right? We need to how to use what called the geography, how to use it. Can what?
GIS?
GPS. Yeah, GPS.
I think it's not exactly what configuration of
Geographical information systems.
Thank you so much, and we really appreciate for your coming here and for your knowledge and your knowledge and experience. And like what Dr. Aku said, that we are welcoming you as one of the editor and to our journal. That I think you can give the perspective for developing our journal also. And like we already see that we see it established so I think from your presentation, I think it is good idea to what call to we would like to take this the theory and methodology of new degree with perhaps in the middle of the year we will formally launch our new master degree. Thank you so much, and we will close to get the I think it's not the ending of our meeting, but I think the next video we can still keep in touch. Not only on offline, but also offline. Thank you so much. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.